What if the move that defines the next decade of Celtics basketball hasn't happened yet? In a shocking twist that almost no one saw coming, the Boston Celtics, fresh off a brutal playoff collapse and a disorienting shift in ownership, have emerged as legitimate contenders to sign Damian Lillard. Yes, that Damian Lillard, the same Lillard who was traded to Milwaukee in a high-profile blockbuster less than a year ago. The same Lillard who, in the span of one season, went from the Bucks' savior to a casualty of roster reshuffling, and now his next chapter might begin in Boston. But is this a stroke of genius or an act of desperation? Let's be clear, this isn't just about adding a star. It's about salvaging what's left of a core that's unraveling faster than anyone expected. Just weeks ago, the Celtics were reigning champions with the deepest roster in the league. Today, that roster is in pieces. Jason Tatum is out with a torn Achilles. Jrue Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis were both shipped out in brutal business-first moves meant to dodge the NBA's dreaded second apron. And what's left in the aftermath? A confused, limping contender grasping at straws. Now, Brad Stevens, the man once praised for building the NBA's most balanced squad, is putting all his chips on a 34-year-old point guard recovering from his own Achilles tear. A player with an injury that has ended careers, a player whose best years may already be behind him. So why is Boston even considering this? Because this isn't just any veteran guard. This is Dame time. Damian Lillard is one of the few players in today's NBA who can completely redefine a franchise's identity overnight. His presence changes locker rooms, his clutch performances rewrite playoff scripts. Even in a diminished state, Lillard commands respect that few players do. In just 58 games last season, despite dealing with blood clots and a toxic Milwaukee rotation that clearly never suited him, Lillard averaged 24.9 points, 7.1 assists, and shot nearly 38% from deep. Those aren't numbers from a washed-up star. They're the warning signs of a comeback waiting to happen. But here's the real kicker. Boston isn't just interested. According to The Athletic, they're pushing to make it happen now, before other contenders like the Warriors or Lakers beat them to it. Could this be the ultimate betrayal? Al Horford to the Lakers would shatter Celtics loyalty like never before it happens. When the heart of a championship locker room is tempted to join the franchise as most hated enemy, that's the haunting question Boston Celtics fans are now being forced to ask themselves as reports swirl that Al Horford, the steady veteran, the beloved leader, the quiet cornerstone of the 2024 title run, is being seriously courted by the Los Angeles Lakers. Let that sink in. Al Horford in purple and gold. It's not just shocking, it's sacrilegious. While Celtics Nation has been fixated on the departures of Jrue Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis, and trying to make sense of the arrivals of Anthony Simons and Georges Niang, something more devastating has been brewing behind the scenes. Lost in the frenzy of trades and draft picks is the fact that Al Horford is still a free agent. A quiet, unresolved loose end that no one thought would actually unravel. But then the bomb dropped, according to The Athletic. The Lakers and Warriors are both pursuing Horford aggressively. Let's be clear, Horford has played over 700 games. In Celtics green, he's never been flashy, never chased attention, and yet he became the emotional backbone of a locker room that desperately needed maturity, poise, and playoff poise. You don't just replace that. And yet Boston seems willing to let him walk, or worse, walk straight into the enemy's arms. The Lakers aren't offering Horford just a contract. They're offering him something more sinister, a chance to rewrite the final chapter of his career. By tarnishing everything he built in Boston, imagine the man who mentored Tatum and Jalen, who battled through bloody playoff wars for this franchise. Imagine him setting picks for LeBron, boxing out Kristaps Porzingis, wearing that jersey. It's the kind of plot twist that turns heroes into villains overnight. This isn't just business. This is about psychological trauma. The Celtics-Lakers rivalry isn't a thing of the past. It's embedded in the DNA of both franchises. If you've ever watched a Celtics fan react to yellow and purple confetti falling at the end of Game 7, you know it's real. Now imagine seeing one of your most respected veterans helping the Lakers win playoff games, possibly against Boston, maybe even in the finals. Horford's presence in LA wouldn't just hurt sentimentally, it could do actual tactical damage. The Lakers need high IQ role players who can space the floor, defend multiple positions, and lead younger guys. Horford checks every one of those boxes. Are we sure the Celtics should be letting that walk out the door? Is Brad Stevens building a new team, or quietly dismantling a dynasty before our eyes? What appeared, on paper, as a minor move, the Celtics signing 22-year-old forward Josh Minott, might actually be the clearest sign yet that Boston's front office isn't just reshuffling the deck. They're flipping the entire table, and fans, still dazed from watching core players like Jrue Holiday, Kristaps Porzingis, and Luke Kornet exit the roster in rapid succession, might not realize what's truly happening here until it's far too late. Minott, a lanky, unpolished wing who has spent more time in G League gyms than NBA arenas, doesn't move the needle in any traditional sense. But this signing isn't about immediate impact in their place. A scattered collection of bench players, low-salary flyers, and maybe prospects like Minott and Luka Garza. What's the plan here? Is there one? Or has the Celtics front office decided that competing in 2025 to 26 isn't worth the financial cost? If this was a simple cap management play, it would make sense, until you realize that Boston jumped back over the second apron just to sign Minott. They didn't clear space to chase stars. They didn't trade for win-now help. They spent what little flexibility they had on a project player who has yet to average even 7 minutes per game in the NBA. Something isn't adding up, and that's exactly why this signing deserves a deeper, more unsettling look. Minott, standing at 6'8" with a 7-foot wingspan, has all the raw physical tools that scouts drool over. But after 3 years in the league, he remains an unfinished product, weary, inconsistent, and uncertain in his offensive identity. He's not a shooter. He's not a creator. He's not a floor spacer. His game lives in transition, off cuts, and hustle plays. He's a glue guy without the glue. And yet Brad Stevens saw enough value to make him one of the Celtics' 15 contracted players, heading into a season where contention was supposedly still on the table. Which begs the real question: is Minott part of a plan to pivot the Celtics into something completely different? A team built not around stars, but around movement, athleticism, youth, chaos. Brad Stevens isn't chasing traditional structure anymore. He's building speed. Minott cuts, Simons cuts, Garza is a floor spacing big who can facilitate. This isn't the old Celtics. It's not even the Holiday Porzingis Horford Celtics. It's something we haven't seen in Boston since the rebuilding days of Kelly Olynyk and Jordan Crawford. Let's say the quiet part out loud. This team is not built to win in 2025. The depth at center is non-existent. There's no starting caliber rim protector. The wing rotation is overloaded with redundancy, and the guard play depends heavily on Peyton Pritchard becoming something he's never consistently been: reliable. Worse, the team now holds 0 mid-sized tradable contracts and no valuable external draft picks. The only path forward is shedding salary, stockpiling assets, and hoping younger, cheaper players overperform. Sound familiar? It should. It's the exact playbook teams follow when they're preparing to pivot from contender to asset hoarder, a soft tank disguised as strategic flexibility. Minott doesn't project to help the Celtics win next year, but if he flashes potential, he becomes trade bait. The same logic applies to Simons, Niang, even Hauser. And here's the terrifying possibility: what if the Celtics already know that Tatum might not return in 2025 to 26? What if his Achilles injury is far worse than publicly acknowledged? What if Brad Stevens is building this roster because he knows next year isn't about chasing wins? It's about staying solvent until Tatum is healthy again. While Boston was finalizing the Minott deal, Al Horford remained unsigned. The Lakers and Warriors both want him, and the Celtics, nothing, not even a reported lowball offer. This isn't just neglect, it's a conscious distancing. Boston knows what Horford brings: poise, toughness, leadership, and playoff equity. His absence now leaves a spiritual void, one that no G League call-up can fill. If Horford walks, and every indication says he will, it cements the message: this franchise is preparing to lose, quietly, strategically, maybe even with good long-term intentions, but losing nonetheless.